If you have ever tried to send or receive money through Zelle and suddenly wondered whether someone can reject a payment, you are not alone. Many users run into situations where a transfer does not go through as expected, especially when making purchases or paying for services. In this video, I will break down everything you need to know about rejecting Zelle payments, why it happens, and what it means for buyers and sellers who use Zelle every day. Let's start with the simple core question. Yes, someone can effectively reject money from Zelle, but not through a button that literally says reject. Instead, rejection happens through several specific actions or situations. The most common one occurs when the recipient has not yet enrolled their phone number or email with Zelle. If a payment is sent to an unregistered Zelle profile, the transfer sits in a pending state. If the recipient chooses not to enroll or link their bank, the money never leaves the sender's account and eventually returns automatically. Another way a payment is rejected is when the sender cancels the transfer before the recipient completes registration. If the recipient has not claimed the payment, the sender can cancel it directly from the Zelle activity section. This is often used when someone sends money to the wrong person, when a buyer realizes the seller might not be legitimate, or when there is a payment error such as a misspelled email address. Now, what about situations where the recipient is already enrolled? In that case, once the money is sent, it typically cannot be rejected or reversed because Zelle is designed for instant, irreversible transfers. That is why Zelle strongly warns users not to send money to strangers or unverified sellers. If the recipient is already fully registered, the funds go straight into their account, and they cannot press any button to send it back unless they choose to refund you manually. This is one reason Zelle is marketed for trusted personal transfers, not for business transactions or online purchases. Let's talk about buyer intent and safety. Many people using Zelle for buying items or paying for services assume they have the same protection offered by PayPal, Cash App business accounts, or credit cards. That is not the case. Zelle does not offer purchase protection. If you send money to a seller and they do not deliver, the bank is unlikely to reverse the payment. Complaints about scams usually results in the bank investigating, but they may not return the funds unless fraud occurred through unauthorized access to your account. Another situation that looks like rejection is when a bank blocks or holds a Zelle transfer. Banks sometimes freeze suspicious transactions for security reasons. If your bank cancels the transfer on your behalf due to potential fraud, the payment never reaches the recipient. This is not the recipient rejecting the payment, but it has the same practical effect. There are also cases where the recipient's bank declines the incoming deposit because the account is restricted or has issues such as fraud alerts, frozen status, or compliance blocks. When this happens, the payment is returned to the sender. Again, this is not a manual rejection by the user but a bank-level rejection for safety. If you are watching this because you want to send a payment safely, or you are a buyer trying to confirm whether Zelle is the right payment method, here is the honest truth. Zelle should only be used when you trust the person on the other end. If you are purchasing something from someone you do not know, especially online marketplace sellers, it is always safer to use platforms that protect you. On the other hand, if you are the one receiving money and you do not want it, the only real way to reject a Zelle payment is to avoid enrolling, avoid linking the email or number the sender targeted, or ask the sender to cancel the transfer while it is pending. If the transfer has already landed in your account, the only way to reject it is to send it back manually. To wrap up, someone can reject money from Zelle only under specific conditions. Pending payments can be cancelled. Unregistered recipients can ignore the enrollment prompt. Banks can block transfers for security reasons. But once a Zelle payment is claimed and deposited into an enrolled account, it cannot be undone by the recipient. If you are using Zelle to buy or pay for something, always double-check who you are sending money to, because once that payment clears, there is no traditional refund or dispute system. Understanding these details will save you from future mistakes and keep your transactions secure.